Are you ready to wake up? You are now entering Dreamland. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Now Entering Dreamland, a podcast about dreams, sleep, and everything in between. Welcome back to those of you who have joined us in Dreamland before, and welcome to those of you joining us here in Dreamland for the first time. Everyone, guess what? It's Easter! Happy Easter to those of you who are celebrating. It is also a Sunday, and it is my favorite day of the week because I get to release a new episode of the Now Entering Dreamland podcast. And this is an exciting day for me because for the first time ever since I've been recording this podcast in October of last year, that I interviewed two guests at once. So this is the debut of an interview with Rosie Grant and James Jelin. Both are hysterical comedians and very good friends of mine, and I was honored that they wanted to be on the show. I met both of them several years ago. Rosie and I are on a dojo comedy, which is a comedy theater in Washington, D.C., house team together called Maple Sunday. Rosie's involved with many other projects, and James as well is on several improv teams, does stand-up comedy. Both are very, very funny, and I was so thrilled that they wanted to do this podcast. We talked about dreams, sleep, states of sleep, urban exploring. We cast the net very far and wide for this episode. We also talked about the 90s. So without further ado, the latest episode featuring Rosie Grant and James Jelin. So, has anyone had a very interesting dream lately?
Have you had any interesting dreams lately?
I did have one of my recurring dreams last week, which is I'm back in college,
Okay.
which I feel like is a common theme for how I think about life and also how I dream.
You're always in college?
Yeah, I'm always in college. And it's like the day or like 2 days after my last final.
Okay.
So you're feeling good.
And I'm feeling good about it. I'm like, I'm done, blah, blah, blah. I'm good. And then I suddenly remember that there was like a paper in some class that was due like 3 days before my last final. And that in the hustle, and I had like, you know what? Actually, as I'm talking about it, I'm remembering that it's even more heightened than that. It's not even just that I had forgotten a paper. It's that I had outright forgotten one of the classes that I was taking.
So you signed up for a class
Yeah.
and you never went to it.
No, it's usually like, oh, I went for like the first like 4 weeks. And then I just kept forgetting. It's like it was at a time that I would always forget and I would miss it over and over again. And then I suddenly am like, and then I kept being like, oh, I'll make it up. Like I'll email the professor. And then I suddenly remember like, oh, I never took that class. And that means I'm 1 credit short of graduating.
So you're not graduating.
And so I can't graduate.
Oh my gosh.
And
Oh my God.
That is
That's
stressful.
something else.
And something about it feels like every time I think about it or talk about it, like deep inside me, there's part of me that's like, oh, right, because that's like, and then I'm like, no, I've never, there isn't anything that's like that. That hasn't happened to me, but somewhere deep down inside me, this feels like an experience that I've had. That I keep having this dream about.
Sounds like anxiety.
But it doesn't, yeah, but I don't think that there's a real thing that's like that.
Like there's not like a deadline coming up that's like bringing this whole thing back.
Or more just like, I don't think that I've ever truly forgotten about something on that scale.
Right.
Stressful. Why
Yeah.
do we do it? We pay a lot of money to stress out.
Yeah.
Now that
Do
I'm in
you-
Jelin, I feel it.
James, do you feel like you typically worry about being on time to places or things like that? Because I do feel like you are a timely person.
Oh, I
At
think
least that's been my experience. So
I feel like you're good about that.
I think of that as something I'm very much not good at. I feel like I'm late for everything.
oh well,
But you have the presence of someone who would
you
be on time.
seem to be on time. This is just
It's not lateness, it's the time you're meant to get there.
No, I feel like I'm very consistently late for things. Maybe it's just because I'm not, I don't know. Maybe I haven't been around you for a lot of appointment-based things.
appointment things.
Doctor's appointments together.
I'm always late for doctor's appointments.
Oh,
I used to always be late for class. Yeah.
I was doing this weird thing a few months ago where, for reasons I don't know, well, part of this I do know. So whenever I schedule one doctor's appointment, whether it is for the dentist or like my general practitioner, whatever it is, I always schedule all my doctor's appointments within like a several day span of everything, because I'm like, I just want a clean bill of health, like to kind of know how I'm doing and everything. And the past few appointments I had, like doctor, dentist related, whatever, I showed up to the appointment and they were like, okay, I'll check you in. I'm like, hello, I'm Stacy X. I'm here for my appointment. And they're like, your appointment's a week from that. Like, I was a week early to consistently every appointment I would like go to.
Is this a dream or is this real?
This is reality. And they were like, we can still see you, but you're you're a week early. And I was like, well, thank you for still seeing me, because who knows the next time I'd show up. Like,
that's a good trick.
Yeah,
I don't have an appointment. It's for a week from now. I'm going to come now.
I'm just coming now.
I'm going to try to get my vaccine.
I know, right? Who knows? It could work. It could work. It worked for me.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They all seem very bemused. They're like, you're a week early, but okay.
Get in here,
So
Stacy.
Nice. How many appointments were there that you showed up a week early for?
There were 4 of them total. 2 of them were for the same office, scattered over like a 6-month period.
Oh, wow.
And you
They're like,
you're
early?
Times?
Yes, a week early. They're like, your appointment wasn't until September 30th. And I was like, that's crazy. This happened
so
to me.
Funny. Are you a calendar person? Like, do you keep like are you like looking at your calendar and like you're just on like a week ahead time, or like?
Yes, my calendar's always wrong. Like, apparently I hear a date and I'm like, I'm putting it into my calendar and I never put it in the right time. I don't know what's wrong with me.
Oh my God, that's so great. I love the idea.
That does feel like it has like a kind of dream logic to it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like,
yes.
Like you're saying, I mean, it's like being a week early for multiple things doesn't feel realistic to me.
Yeah.
It feels like something a mind would invent, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dream logic. So we just watched a movie called Come True.
Oh yeah.
We just watched a movie that's very about dreams. Maybe it was like almost in preparation for this podcast. It's a horror film. Stacey, I'd recommend it, but like at the same time, it was like the ending was so random that it was a little bit off-putting. It wasn't even like, oh, that was a scary ending. It was just like, where did that come from? But the actual like dream sequencing was so interesting because it was always, in some ways, it was very relatable in dreams of like, it was always moving forward. Of like dreams are, no matter what the thing is, you're at the appointment and you're doing the next thing and you're missing class and like it just keeps moving forward. You're never like stuckness. At least my dreams are not like that. But the thing it didn't feel very relatable was like none of the characters or / the main character, the dreams are so because usually like you dream about things that are connected to something you've seen, or, you know, you're processing stuff, people you know, conversations you either want to have or thought you've had. And like it was in these like dark spaces, like very abstract, creepy house, walking floaty chairs, like very weird and abstract. It was like cool looking, but like it didn't look like anyone's actual dream. Like at least maybe like if you've seen this movie now you'll have dreams about it. But like I couldn't imagine why anyone would have a dream So anyways, the whole point is like the whole moving forward. Like you're at the appointment
Yes.
and then they're like, and your appointment, you can just get it.
I know, right? Like, I
Right.
was really afraid they were going to turn me away. And even the last time that this happened to me, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, let me call my Uber. And they're like, no, stay. I was like, wow, that's so kind of you. Thank you. I wasn't expecting
Awesome.
Yeah, they're nice people. Or maybe they just felt bad. I really don't know. But it was my fault. I don't know what my calendar issue is.
They're desperate all doctors right now are so desperate for people. Like,
That's
please.
true. Actually, yeah, that is true. Oh my gosh. Rosie, have you dreamed anything?
So I've only had I've had like one dream that I like remember, and then like a series like for like most of my childhood, I only had one particular dream when I was like a kid that I actually remembered, and then I had two like weird like snippets of dreams that were very like I'm sure I've dreamed like I've woken up in the middle of the night being like, oh, that was a weird dream, but then I've forgotten. But the one dream I remember is so specific. And it connects to like a family thing later on, but like basically I grew up in Arlington, Virginia, and I'm in my house. And it was right when I'm one of three, I'm the oldest sibling, and all three of us, all me and my siblings all lived in the same bedroom growing up. Me and my middle brother lived in a bunk bed, and the baby was in a crib in our room. And so in this dream, my mom is reading to the three of us, and Patrick, the young, who had just been born, was like in his crib, and she's reading to us, and like I like leave the room while she's reading to my brother, and I look over the banister the way it was like a split house, and my dad's I know my dad is in the kitchen, like dream logic.
Yes.
And I look over the banister and my dad has turned into a king cobra snake. And then I walk back to the bedroom and my mom is reading to Tim, my middle brother, and a snake is in the room and bites her. And she like bends over and is like holding her arm and is like yelling because it hurts. Like it like bit her somewhere around here. And Tim is crying. And I run back to the banister where my dad is, and the snake starts like slithering up the stairs. And then I run back into the bedroom, and the snake has now bitten my brother, Tim, and is coming out. And like the two of them are like both bitten by snakes. And my dad theoretically has been bitten by a snake and has turned into a snake. And then the last part of the dream is I'm my baby brother in the crib looking up. I'm like through his perspective, and four snakes, theoretically all of us, are jumping down to like bite him in the face. And then I wake up, and like it's the only dream I remember as a kid. The funny thing is my cousin is getting this like shaman training thing right now, and she was commenting like I'm born of the year of the snake in like Chinese mythology or whatever. So like I was always like, oh, this is really like these snake things. My brother actually has a snake tattoo, and she was like, our family, the Grants have a naga curse on us. Like we have a snake curse that's like passed down. And so it's just like funny. Like that's the only dream I remember of all of us turning into snakes and eventually attacking my youngest brother. Apparently snakes and like I know, right? Snakes and like Jungian stuff is like father issues. So like, which I could totally see. So that's like the only like main dream I remember. And then I have like a ghosts thing that happened that was like part dream, but also more not dream. Like I think I was like waking up, but that's like the main dream that I have. But otherwise I have other dreams, I'm sure.
Were you having this during a time of like family turmoil, or was this like when things were calm?
It was the first time that my dad went to jail for drunk driving. And so that might have like played into it because again, like fatherly stuff. And I don't think I like as a kid like knew what that meant. But it was right around that time that I think like the first incident happened. And I remember him coming back from jail and like, because jail's different than prison. Jail's like in most cases, pretty temporary. Right. And so that could have definitely played into it. I also really watched a lot of Johnny Quest at the time. Tons of snakes on Johnny Quest. So it could have been one or the other.
Or both.
Or both. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Gosh. What about you, Stace? Have you had any recent dreams?
I had a dream a few days ago that really disturbed me.
Ooh.
And it took place in two parts, and one of them Ryan Alloway was in.
Oh my God.
And
what a
we
guest
were
star.
like, I know, it was like a really nice guest star.
Yeah.
And we were like chatting in the dream, and then I left him, and I was in a place that, in my opinion, doesn't exist in reality, but it exists in my mind. Like, I've been to this place in a dream before.
Or in the dream and you're like, oh, I know where I am.
I know exactly where I am. And I started walking down where I was with Ryan, down this like hill, and there's like a cave in the hill. And I like went into the cave, and then I was like looking around it. And then I woke up it was like a dream within a dream, because I woke up in the dream, but I was in my childhood bedroom, and I like went into the bathroom, and my bathroom was like where my bathroom was in my like parents' house, like. Whoa. And then I opened my mouth, and like my teeth started falling out, which I know is an anxiety dream, like hardcore, but I was like,
teeth falling out, is that really?
Yes, it's like an anxiety thing, like if you feel out of control with your life, like you will dream stuff like your teeth falling out. And it was like tooth, like 3 of them fell out, and then I like grabbed my mouth, and I was like, no, this is not happening today. And then I like opened my mouth again, and another one fell out, and then I like grabbed my mouth again, and then I woke up, and in real life I was like actually grabbing my mouth, and my face hurt me because I was grabbing it with like the Herculean force. Like I was like, no, like I'm preventing this.
Famous Stacey Axler grip.
Yes, the famous Stacey Axler grip.
Takedown.
Really keeping my face intact.
But what's happening when the grip gets used against oneself?
Wow.
I know. I was like, and my face was all red, and I was like, ow, that hurts. Wow. So that happened. And then I've been having this weird dream lately where I'm walking through a series of rooms, and then I wake up and I'll have walked into the kitchen. Because I sleepwalk, so it's like my dream is
still sleep. I for some reason thought this was a thing you haven't done in a while. This is the most recent sleepwalking incident?
Yes, yeah. It happened like a week or 2 ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, I have lots of questions. When you sleepwalk, are your eyes open?
They're like, you know how sometimes your eyes get a little bit like blurry, or like when you're drunk or something, and like they're open, but they're not alert. That's the best way to describe them.
Yeah.
I have like
you can
inebriated eyes.
Where you're it's like enough that you're like not gonna run into, or if there's a door there, to like push it open.
Oh yes, 100%. And like that's the weird thing, because when I started, the most I've sleptwalk was when I was like 14 to 17, like in that like year, in those like teen years, I was sleepwalking a few times a week. And I remember my mom bringing it up to my pediatrician and kind of just being like, like what do we do about this? Like, our child is walking around saying things to us, like moving things, like I was like running the gamut. And then my pediatrician, I think, meant to say this to like reassure, like she meant to say this as a reassuring thing, but like it was not reassuring at all. But she was like, Mrs. Axler, don't worry. I had one patient who, when he would sleepwalk, he started driving his car. And like we both were kind of like, oh my God, like what is that doesn't help us. Like I think she was trying to say it as an analogy of like it would be that bad. Yeah. Like Stacey's only moving furniture, but like it didn't.
Would you really do that? Would you rearrange furniture?
I would move furniture. I would like wake up and my closet would be all rearranged. Like I like to keep my clothes in a particular order, and like things would be out of order, and I'd be like, God, now I have to put it in the right order. Like it would really frustrate me.
If I sleptwalk, I've never sleptwalked before. I'd probably eat and then just try on clothes. I think that's what I do.
I once ate a hot dog, and I was so upset because I was saving that hot dog for the next day. And I like
sleepy Stacey.
Yeah, I woke up, and I like as soon as I woke up, I was like, I ate that hot dog. I knew I had eaten it. And then I like looked in the kitchen, and there was like a plate in the sink, and I like opened the fridge, and there was no hot dog, and I was like, I put it on a plate and I microwaved it, and then I ate it, and I was like, the hot dog is gone. Like I was so angry.
Wow, man, you were a productive sleepwalker.
So would you retain any kinds of memories of the sleepwalking, or would you recognize parallels between what you were dreaming and what you were experiencing during sleepwalking?
I would have like a very hazy memory of the things I was doing, and it usually wasn't until someone would approach me, whether it was like my parents or like a roommate, who would be like, Stacy, do you know what you were doing last night? And I would like, I mean, I would have like an idea, but then they would say, we found you, and you were, usually I would go, honestly, what I would do when I was a teenager during that, like those years of like 14 to 17, is I would go into my parents' room, and then I would just yell at them, and I'd be like, we're late. They would like, they would wake up, and they would be like, Stacy, no.
Wait, that
We're
is
late.
really
We're
funny.
late.
I can totally see it.
I was so up, like I was like
It always
really
comes back to
afraid.
an appointment.
Yes, I know. Like I would just go in there, and I would like stare at them, and then like I guess if they didn't wake up, I would just start shouting, and I'd be like, "We're late!" And then they would wake up, and they'd be like, "Stacy, try to think logically about this.
No,
It's 2 a.m." But like when you talk to me when I'm in that state, it does not compute. Like I'm not understanding what you're
And
saying.
would they be able to wake you up, or would you stay asleep?
Oh yeah,
No.
isn't there a whole thing about waking up sleepwalkers? Because this movie gave us opinions on it, and I couldn't tell if that's real. Because they're like, don't wake up a sleepwalker. Is that a thing?
I've been woken up before, and it's like nothing bad happens, but it is very jarring.
I'm sure.
Because like it's just disorienting. So usually, but like the one thing I will say is if you encounter a sleepwalking person, they will listen to you. So my parents would just be like, oh, well, go back to bed. And then I would say, okay. And I would like walk back to bed, and I would go to sleep. And then in the morning, they'd be like, do you know what you said last night? And like after a few years of this, I'd be like, I probably said we were late. And that was always the answer. We were
really
late to
funny.
something.
Wow, man, a whole new world. Do they have like, is there like evidence about sleepwalking of like, it's just like the brain being like, I'm going to do something even when in sleep mode? Like, that's just such an interesting, I like almost wish I slept walk, but like also I'm sure that's very stressful.
It's so bizarre, and it's like I know that there's like some, I don't know if it's actually science or like pseudoscience or what is it, but I know that there is like apparently some apparent or like professed link between like eating some foods and sleepwalking. Like I don't know if you both were Hey
There's
Arnold
a hot dog in the
fans.
fridge.
There's a hot dog in the fridge. But there was that Hey Arnold episode where Helga eats pork rinds and then starts sleepwalking, and then like professes her love to Arnold, or like does something. It's a good episode.
She finally does it. Yeah. I
But
remember.
I like don't know if it's food related. For me, I know it is stress related. Like when I'm very stressed, I tend to sleepwalk, which is upsetting because like I want actual rest. I don't want to walk around.
Like half sleep. Yeah, you're like burning energy and stuff like that during it.
But so
Yes.
while you're sleepwalking, do your dreams take place in the physical space that you are in the real world usually?
Yeah, like are you in like a video game scenario where it's like, you know,
Is it like VR? Like
yeah,
is it like
exactly.
augmented reality?
Yeah, I was about to say Oculus Prime reality. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Is it a Transformer reality?
It's I usually like, so the dream that I've been having recently where I'm in the hallway, that's like never really happened to me before. Like usually I can't remember like what I'm doing when I'm like, it's really strange. Like I don't know what to make of it at all.
Are you generally like a vivid dreamer, or do you have more like what? Okay, so of the types of dreams, it's like vivid dreams, lucid dreams. I guess process, that's not the right phrase, but like basically like replaying dreams type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Are those terms? Is that
No,
like,
I mean vivid dreams is a thing. Lucid dreams is a thing.
yeah.
I'm sure there's like more, just I don't know a lot about dreams, but like so again, Carl Jung is all about, he's a contemporary
Yes.
of Freud. He's like all about like symbology in dreams. And so it would be like normal things of you that your brain is bringing up, but like it's like your subconscious starts to put on like meaning into things, and that's why
Yes.
tend to repeat. Do you feel like your dreams are like one of those different categories?
Yeah, like I definitely think like there are some dreams I have that I definitely feel like my brain is trying to tell me something.
Whoa.
Like, which is so like I'm just like, just tell me. Like, it's almost like,
brain, just tell me.
just tell me.
I'm ready to hear it.
I'm ready.
Come on, I don't need a dream. Yeah.
I definitely feel like, I don't know. It reminds me a little bit of my relationship, but yes, it is a relationship that I have with God, because I feel like I had like a, are you there, God? It's me, Margaret relationship with God early in my life. And like, I don't know if either of you have read that book, but I recommend.
The guy who wrote Chuck Palahniuk or something?
No, it's a Judy Blume novel. And
definitely. Okay, then I read like a knockoff version where it's "Are you there, Satan? It's me, Margaret," and it's a girl who gets into hell. And but that's funny. The only book I've read, and I thought she was the first one. So I think every time I heard that reference, I assumed it was the girl talking. My God. She really loves Satan. Oh,
I
wow.
love that, actually.
Big time parody of "Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret."
I need to check that out.
Margaret, yeah, it's Chuck Palahniuk. I think it's the guy who wrote like Fight Club or something.
Oh, I love that so much.
I might be. Listeners, don't listen to me, but it is. I think his name is Chuck Palahniuk, and like, it's like I listened to the audiobook, and she's like, "It's me, Margaret. Are you there, Satan?" And like, she really wants Satan to like her, and she's feeling very ignored in hell. Anyway, so go on, your relationship with God.
Oh, well, I need to loan you my copy of Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, because it's a beautiful book about this, like, and I loved this book as a youth. And now I feel like at that point in my life, I had a very, basically the main character was raised kind of without religion. And she's exploring a bunch of different religions after she moves to New Jersey, and she has classmates who are Jewish, and she has some classmates who are Christian and some who are, other religions. And but she writes these letters to God where she like speaks to God. And I feel like I had like a very similar relationship to God as Margaret did, where it's like, I would be like, God, hello, like I have a complaint I would like to tell you about today.
I was early to my appointment again.
I was early to my appointment. God, like what's going on? But I feel like I've like lost a little bit of that in my like adulthood. And I kind of miss having that like almost like confidant like relationship where I'd be like, I don't need therapy because look, God is here. Everyone go to therapy.
And did you say that something about a dream that reminded you of that?
Yes, I swear this is going towards something because like, oh my God, what was I going to? I really had a good
power, a higher spirit that's connecting.
What dream were we talking about when that came up? You're talking
about Carl Jung.
The dreams, Carl Jung, because Carl Jung is all about
lucid, vivid.
So Carl Jung, I don't know if this will help jog, but like Freud was very much of like there is no soul, it's just the animal instincts that we all have. And Carl was all like, yeah, we have like animal instincts, but they connect to a higher spirit. So there's like a universal subconscious that everyone connects to. That's like, he's all about archetypes, like these like symbols that appear in all like human history or whatever. So I don't know.
Yes, that actually did help me because I feel like when I stopped having these like conversations with God, I like started around my like late teen years when I don't want to say I became anti-establishment, but I do feel like part of me is a little bit anti-establishment. Like I do feel like that like speaks to my soul, that whole like, what is society anyway type of thing. But like, I started to have these like dreams where I think this is part of the reason why I'm so interested in like urban exploring and stuff, because I had these dreams of me exploring this like derelict abandoned city. And there was like a house like deep in the woods that I would go into, and I would go up into the attic of the house and I was searching for something.
Wait, and have I told you about my next plan for our next urban exploring adventure?
What is the plan?
Literally doing exactly that. Maybe you were just dreaming the future. Continue on, but I already think this is making connections.
Well, there's this beautiful house in my dream. There's this beautiful house, and it's in this like in the woods of this like town, that's all abandoned and everything's like kind of crumbling, and it looks like it was once a beautiful town, but everything is like kind of, I mean, it's not been kept up at all. So everything is overgrown. And I go to this house that was kind of like one could presume it was a mansion at some point in time. And I will always go up to the attic and I'm looking for something up there, but I never find what I'm looking for, nor do I think I even know what it is I'm looking for. But I feel like it's like part of me, I feel like, part of me is trying to like, I feel like something is missing, or I'm searching for something, or I need to find something, but I don't even know what it is I'm actually looking for, but maybe I'm incomplete in some way, or I don't know. I really don't know what it could be.
I think you've just described every urban explorer anyway, so that's very relatable. Like the digging through the decay, and you're trying to like, it gives you a weird high, and like you're going through history, but your own personal stuff in the moment. And so I think that's because we went to the Winterbourne Mansion in Maryland, and you had like a very physical reaction to that place, like more than I feel like I regularly don't. Like I'll be like, like cameras or the stability of the place, or is there asbestos or mold? But like we were like within eyesight of the place, and you started physically reacting to it. Were you reacting to that dream?
I was honestly just struck with this, like, this like bad aura. Like, and that sounds
People
weird.
did die there, so that's fair.
And I do feel like there's a weird part of me that's like very like sensitive to stuff like that. Like when I went to Salem, I was having like a lot of weird reactions, like where I was like, I can't go into this building, or like I just can't. Like I went on a ghost tour, and there were like some parts of the ghost tour where I was like, I feel absolutely nothing toward, like, not saying that something horrible did not happen in this building.
You're like, not haunted. I don't feel anything.
Like I'm calling this out. But I really did, like, there were some buildings though where like, and the weird thing about Salem, James, have you ever been to Salem?
I have.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah, quite a while ago. I don't really remember why. I think I stopped there on the way somewhere.
Like soccer
That's cool.
practice.
Yeah, soccer practice or
Soccer
something.
practice.
Yeah.
Then it's like the weird thing about Salem is like the city itself is so old. So like modern infrastructure has built up around it. So like you'll go to this very old haunted building that's now in the middle of a parking garage because they like can't tear the building down. It's like a historic place. Yet they needed a parking garage because it's close to downtown. So they like built this parking garage around it. So it's like, it's very weird because I'll be walking through this like parking garage, everything's fine. And then the guy would be like, this is a haunted building. And I would just be like, I cannot go. And he stepped closer to this because like something is wrong with this building. Like there's something wrong. No, like get me out of it. And there were like 3 buildings on the store, including the one in the parking garage where I was like, there's something terrible that like happened in this building.
It's so funny how that like that like impression. I know I think some people are naturally very sensitive to that thing. Maybe like, and it's funny because you're like, I don't even know the history of it. I generally don't think I'm a sensitive person, but for the first time ever, I went to a place that I like physically felt affected by. And maybe like I did look up the history of it. I went to my first asylum 3 weeks ago, and it was like horrible history. Like really, they were a place that was like known for eugenics. Like it was awful. It was in Stanton, Virginia. And it's a place that I not knowing that side of it, I knew it was a children's asylum, which is already awful. Like 1800s asylum, anything is like not good. They were in theory trying, and it just does not compared to today.
Yes.
But like, so the history is awful, and like a good part to like be aware of and whatnot. But going inside of it, I like physically felt sad. Like I felt, and I've gone to like hospitals, I've gone to schools with tragic history. We went to that house. Like there's been places with sad histories, but like I felt so affected, and I felt sad the whole weekend. Like I got back, and and like there was like when you're traveling, there's like things going on. I just like wanted to cry the entire weekend. And I was like, I'm doing things that I love, and like I loved exploring places like this. Like usually this gives me so much joy, but I felt so sad,
yes,
like, impressioned afterwards. So like I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know how to explain. But basically, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like, I think that's like one of the things about urban exploring that like I find very enticing is just the fact where like I really do feel like feelings sometimes can transfer into like objects and like other things. And like, I don't know where I really fall with like, oh, this is like, have you ever heard of that doll, Robert, in Florida?
Yeah, I saw him. I specifically went to Key West just to see Robert.
Oh my God. How was that? Tell us about it.
Maybe one of the freakiest stories I think I've ever heard. I didn't.
James, do you know about Robert?
I don't know about Robert.
So have you heard about Annabelle?
Yeah.
Okay, so Annabelle is like, I think Annabelle pales in comparison to Robert.
She does. Robert is evil, apparently.
Movie to be, I think it's just because that couple that was involved with Annabelle, there hasn't been like a movie made off of him. But I think Robert is way creepy. Like the doll himself is, because Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann, which is like a very common doll, versus like Robert is this like very like plain expressionless doll. Gigi, do you want me to tell the story? Or do you want to tell the story?
No, I started laughing because I think the real Annabelle, which is a Raggedy Ann is so like silly looking.
It's
like
silly, exactly.
She's just lying against her like cage, and their cage is like, do not open this door. She is evil. And she's just smiling at you. Like, and I'm like,
I feel like I had that as
wants
a
to
kid.
hold her.
I completely agree. Yeah, Robert. I mean, and also like Raggedy. It's like like the Raggedy Annabelle was like a commercially made doll. Gotcha. Robert was like a handmade toy for this kid in like the 1800s. This was in the 1800s, but like so it was in Key West. This boy was given this toy, and I think like he was either an only child or something. He was like fairly wealthy, and I think he had like tragic either like parents died or something, and so he became very connected to this doll. And like it was a time when like a lot of kids had siblings, and he did not, I think for whatever reason, have siblings. Anyway, so he grew up fairly affluent, just kind of strange, and weird things would happen around the house, and he'd always be like, Robert did it. The doll, like the doll's named Robert. He'd be like, and the doll was also life size, so when the child got it, it was the same size as him. So he'd be like, the Robert did it. And this continued into adulthood. So he goes off to college, comes back with a girl. Theoretically, they're engaged. They're going to get married. And like the police report was that the girl left. She had like her own guest bedroom in the middle of the night, left screaming, went straight to the police station and was like, I was locked in my room. I was terrorized. I think she was like physically injured. Like there was like things happening to her. And she couldn't explain what was happening. She wasn't even like, I think the boy's name was like Bobby or something. Yeah. It wasn't Robert. It was like another name, but she's like, she didn't even say it was him. She's like, someone was attacking me. And the police come to the house and they're like, what happened? And he's like, I'm so sorry. Robert the doll attacked her, did all this stuff. He locked her in. Robert doesn't like her. Robert wants her out of the house. So like, obviously it could have just been like this kid in his own psyche, but like pretty terrifying. And so I think the creepiest thing about the doll now though is like, it went through its generations of owners, and now what they say is that you have to ask, because the doll is like housed in this fort in Key West. You have to, and it's like pinnacle light, like it's like a dark room, and it's just like this shed of light on this doll in a box. And you have to ask outward, like verbally ask for permission from Robert to take a picture of him. And if you don't ask for permission, he will haunt you and curse you for the rest of your life. And so you have to be very, very respectful. So people who have taken pictures, I mean, such a social media modern creature to urban legend that's formed, but they say that the fort gets all of this mail from people who didn't ask for permission, that feel like they are cursed, who are now writing and begging Robert to lift the curse off of them, or revisited being like, Robert cursed me. I didn't ask for permission. I took a picture of him without him at, like, whatever.
Wow.
So like, I usually think these things are such nonsense, but when I went to the museum, I didn't even take a picture, and I like take pictures of everything. I like didn't even want to like risk it. I was like, because everyone was like verbally like, Robert, can I take your picture? And I was like, I'm not going to attempt this. I took no pictures while I was there. Robert the doll, right?
James, the creepiest part, in my opinion, is the fact that he's wearing a sailor suit.
He is wearing a sailor suit.
I mean, it's just next level horror.
Wait, Stace, if you post a podcast picture, can it just be a picture of Robert the doll?
Yes, just Robert.
Or it'll be us in sailor suits.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary.
Yeah, it is a very unsettling looking doll. Like, again, I've never seen Annabelle. I mean, I've like seen pictures of her, and I was like, oh yeah, whatever. Seeing pictures of Robert the doll, I was like, this is a freaky doll.
Yes. I mean, it's really weird. And it's like, I think the thing, because, you know, I knew of Ed and Lorraine Warren just because I really like The Exorcist. And I kind of grew up.
That's cool.
It was not The Exorcist. It was, what is that other one about that house? The Amityville Horror. That's it.
Yeah.
I misspoke. But it's like that kind of generation of horror was like the horror that was allowed in my house. Like it was a very there was like no slasher, like no modern horror, but it's like I watched The Exorcist and I could watch like Amityville Horror, like the original one.
And like
It, I was watching It, which isn't like it, but Tim Curry is wonderful, and I think everyone should develop an appreciation, but that's neither here nor there. Though I do plug for Tim Curry because I love him, but like, I don't know, like, I knew who these people were, but then when Annabelle came out, I was like, oh, this should be interesting. And of course, the Annabelle in the movies looks like, who would buy such a doll for their children?
Buy that doll? No, exactly. And like, I think the original story is like a nursing student, her like an adult. Basically, she was like 20.
Yes.
Her mom sent it to her. I haven't seen the movie because like I'm not gonna open that door. But like in the story, like her mom sends her a doll. Like, what adult kid in college is getting a doll that looks like that sent to them?
Yeah.
Seriously, like, no.
Yeah, it's just so weird.
Huge.
A Raggedy Ann, yes, because I had a Raggedy Ann and I loved her so much.
Cute. Yeah,
I wonder where she is now.
She's like, probably haunting some nurse.
She's probably haunting someone. There is something about her, the vacant eyes.
It's like because they have those like button eyes. It's almost like Coraline or whatever.
Coraline, yeah.
Sold in.
Yeah.
I think I told you that like my uncle used to be a priest and a Catholic priest, and his best friend was the local parish exorcist. And so my cousins, who I grew up, the one who's like practicing to be a shaman now, she when she was a baby, so she's like 30 now. She like the priest, the exorcist of the community would just give the kids. So my uncle's like one of the few Catholic priests who was married and could have. He's like one of like 26 priests in the U.S. There's like a loophole, and so he would give them gifts because they were like family friends. But he would give them used gifts, like gifts from like he would go to like a thing, and it would be like work related. So he gives my cousin when she's a baby and she's like learning to talk, and it was called a Sally Walker. It was a doll that you put them down and their eyes closed, and then when you pick them up their eyes open. It was like weight related, and this Sally doll that he gave to my cousin Monica was just weird. And like, so you would put her down and her eyes would stay open, and you'd pick her up and her eyes would close randomly just on its own. And Monica was just learning to talk, so her first sentences were just really strained. Like her very first sentence was, "Sally wants to run the show." And they would put Sally down. And again, this is the local exorcist who gave her this doll. And they'd put Sally down and she would end up in different parts of the house. And they had multiple kids, so they were like, oh, it's like one kid probably picked her up, but she would always end up outside of Monica's crib, and they're like, who's playing with the baby's doll? She's crying, the doll's not there, but the doll would always end up in weird places. And eventually my aunt started getting my dad's sister, we get kind of upset about it. So she threw the doll out one day, and the doll ended up back in Monica's crib. And then my uncle almost has like a joke, like, haha, like probably not a big deal, but talked to the friend who gave it to him, and he's like, this doll is weird. And he's like, oh, so like I blessed it, it should be fine, but this doll came from a case that he was working on. So, this like demon doll. He's like, oh, I blessed it should have been fine, but this is where I got the doll from to give to Monica. And my uncle was like, oh no, like it's doing something weird, I don't know what's happening. So eventually they got rid of it by like blessing it again or something, and then they brought it to the local dump and they never had issues with it again. But like legitimately my cousin's first sentence was, Sally wants to run the show.
Oh my god.
Like, imagine your newborn's first sentence.
That's something else. I love that story though. My first word was uh-oh, and then my first sentence was E-I-E-I-O, which I count as a sentence.
Wow.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
What was your first word?
I don't know what my first word was in my first sentence.
Oh,
I guess I have to
your
find out.
mom.
Yeah.
That's a fun thing.
Yeah.
Mine was more beer, please. My first word was bear.
Oh,
A teddy bear that I love, but then my first sentence was more beer, please.
Did you mean bear or did you mean beer?
So my parents can't tell. I mean, I was an infant, so I don't know.
yeah.
Were they
Could've been
feeding
either.
you beer?
Yeah, that was my steady diet as a baby. I'd be like, more beer, please.
So cute. When I was young, I was surprised I said uh-oh, honestly, because I called everything ba. Like I would just point and I would be like, ba. And then that would be like for Barney, balloon, but also for anything else. Like I would just point at my dad and I'd be like, ba. But I was trying. Stacy was trying.
Yeah, Stacy was going places.
Yeah. Look at Stacy.
Bye.
Yeah.
It's really weird because I didn't speak for like a long time, like longer than it should have been. And then like they would always try to entice me into speaking and like by like being like, come on, Stacy, say, or like, and I wouldn't do it. But then look at me go. Look at all
Now
that
look
time.
at you.
You're like,
Yeah.
words.
I'm speaking so much. So it helps. What else was I going to bring up? This is reminding me about two things I wanted to talk to you about. Which one is so I've been very interested in, every 6 months, I feel like I get interested in this topic again. And then I feel like I kind of like put it on the back burner and then I bring it up again. But Chernobyl, which I've watched on HBO, which is so good.
Who's not interested by Chernobyl every 6 months? Absolutely.
I don't know. But I am so interested in those people that go to Pripyat and they stay there and it's like that ghost town. Would you go there is what I'm asking both of you.
I actually applied for it because I did a stint with Atlas Obscura. I did apply because like if you're a trip person, you can like the trip would have been mostly compensated for. So I did actually look into it, but then I also looked into the radiation levels and like all of the creepiness of it, totally into the radiation. Like
Yeah,
it's pretty dangerous. Like, I mean, you can be there for a short amount of time, but the amount of exposure that you deal with, and like I want to say it was like a 1 hour of being there just to like walk around it had like such a high level exposure.
Yes.
Like, if you have like any cancer in your family, like it's just like not worth it. And there's, I mean, like the photos look absolutely stunning. Like I have so much FOMO. I want to go so badly, but it's just not worth it just because of the radiation.
yeah, it's scary.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever felt like particularly drawn. I mean, if there was like a museum there, I feel like I would go, but I don't think I need to like go there and experience being there.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I see how it's meaningful and like a cautionary experience, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't feel like a drive to be in that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I would recommend, because like if you're obviously like urban exploring, if you're interested in the like, so if you're a person who wants to go to Chernobyl, there's so many other abandoned places that you can obviously go to that are stunning. If you are interested in like the nuclear history side, you can go to one of the secret cities in the US, and I think like a Manhattan Project city, and I think that could like be of interest too. Like you go to Los Alamos, or I think
cool.
4 of them, and like they used to be unmapped. They were the places involving like nuclear history, and like you can learn about non-proliferation there. But that might be of interest too. And like they're open now to like, and they have museums and like a lot of history that might be good. And you won't die.
Yes. That is the one thing where it's like, I was watching this video of this guy who like went into Pripyat, and then he went into the Pripyat hospital. Like he broke into it basically. Yeah. There's a YouTube video about it. And then like he went down into the basement where like after the explosion at Chernobyl, and when they took in all the firemen, they kind of just tossed all of their gear into the basement, and they're like, oh, we'll get to it later. But then they were all evacuated. They never got to it. So there's like, the basement's basically filled with all these like boots and like coats of like these firemen.
Oh, wow.
And they had to like suit up, like mask, gloves, like one of those like head to toe like suits. And
like a took, man,
yeah. And they took one of those things with them that like counts radiation. And even like, what is it, like 40 years later, they like held up the counter like next to these like boots, and it was reading like, I mean, it was off the charts. Like, it's still hard. It's very dangerous. But like, there was part of me that I was like, I would never go into the basement of the, I would never go into the hospital, period. Like, you're not supposed to go there. They broke in.
Yeah. I mean, you can definitely like walk straight. I think like if it was one of those things of they're like, you have a year left to live. What do you want to do? And I'd be like, if I'm already going to die, okay, maybe I would consider it. Cause like, what the hell? But like, if I'm going to lose like 5 years off of my life for it, I don't know. I mean, I'll look at pictures of it and it's pretty cool. There's too many other places to get to. It's like one of those things.
Yeah, that's so true. No, I agree.
Like tax or something. I don't know.
The other thing I wanted to bring up was, did you hear about the man that was living on Discovery Island in Disney World for like a few months?
No.
So this is something that's like really interested me, but like when Disney built like Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach, and they closed down River Country and Discovery Island, they like didn't do anything with it. They just kind of left it there. And apparently like a few months ago, they found this guy that was like camping on Discovery Island for like a while. And they're like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. And he's like, I didn't know that. And it's like, honestly, though, I don't blame him, because like no one else is there. So like he was just camping. Yeah.
For any of the abandoned places that aren't like regularly being monitored, like I'm like, why don't people live here? It's shelter, probably a decent view. You can go get snacks. Like, that's if you don't need a permit because it doesn't legally exist.
Exactly. It's so like, I mean, he took a boat to it and was like, this seems like a good spot to go. And like, I mean, he was there for like 2 months, and they're like, hello, you're not supposed to be here. This is a Disney property. But it's like, to his defense, I mean, there are old Disney buildings there, but like everything is overgrown. Like,
oh yeah.
So he didn't realize, he just thought it was an island that he was camping on?
Yeah. He's like, chill island discovered.
Yeah, exactly.
Discovery Island.
So
that's my name.
Yeah.
There is like an old Fruitopia machine. Do you remember Fruitopia?
Yes. Oh my God.
James, Fruitopia was
born
the drink.
I was born. It's not like Dippin' Dots.
No, Fruitopia was like it was like Minute Maid. But it was better than Minute Maid. It was like Minute Maid mixed with love.
Yellow ones. No,
let me find a picture for you.
I see,
yeah.
Oh man, High C was great too.
Yeah, High C was great. Sunny D was like the next level.
Sunny D, it was like Sunny D at soccer practice. Sunny D, High C.
High C, yeah.
Orange slices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nestle chocolate.
The actual fruit is so far below Fruitopia, which is exactly as it describes itself.
It's a beverage.
It's a beverage that's just made with love. Oh my God, Fruitopia.
And a lot of sugar.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. I remember drinking this. Fruitopia. Oh God. Come on, phone. Work with me here.
Hold it close so the brightness adjusts.
Whoa, that is like full neon.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I've had that.
It looks like a Fanta.
Yes, it was blue. It tasted blue. Like it was one of those drinks that tasted blue or tasted green.
Yeah.
I would literally pay $1,000 to drink another Fruitopia. Just one. Fruitopia, please.
Listeners out there who have a Fruitopia,
Stacey will pay you
$1,000 for a Fruitopia.
You know how to contact.
Yeah.
Please. I need a Fruitopia.
Fruitopia.com.
Yeah. Stacey has the full domain access and runs Fruitopia.com.
This drink was good. It was so bad, but it was so good. Like, it was a drink that children love.
It was a drink that could almost, one might say, be a dream.
Yeah, it could almost be a dream. But I know it existed because if you watch Good Burger, which is one of my favorite movies, there is a scene where they go
A haunted house.
They go to play mini golf, which is almost like being in a haunted house. And they some of them drink Fruitopia, and I was like, oh my god, this is not something that exists in my mind. It's real. This is actually Fruitopia.
I don't think Good Burger was real, but the Fruitopia was real.
I remember they opened a Good Burger back in like 2020, like the first few months of 2020.
Off.
I would have gone. I wanted to go, and then COVID happened. I would have gone. I want to go to Good Burger.
I could see them. I could see them revamping that. I don't know what happened to Cal, but obviously Keenan's doing well. But okay, so I do remember one of the Good Burger movies was in a haunted house. Maybe there was Good Burger 2.
But that might have been the Keenan and Kel movie where they had to go.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. But didn't they work at Good Burger in the movie too? Because I think Kel was wearing his Good Burger outfit in the movie. I might totally be making this up.
Was this the one with the knight with no head? The headless knight?
Yes. It's you're right. It's a Keenan Kel movie. 2 heads are better than 9. You're absolutely right. Yes. I am just placing incorrect.
I love this movie so much.
So good. I think about that movie like once a month.
It's really good. James, have you ever seen it?
I've seen Good Burger. I haven't seen 2 heads are better than 9.
Oh my god, it was so good.
So periodically, Keenan and Kel would come up with like a feature-length movie, and one of them was, the premise of it is very silly, but it's very Keenan and Kel. Whereas like the Keenan's family was going on a family trip, and in the show, Keenan has a sister, and the sister has a crush on Kel. And he has parents, and his parents do not like Kel at all. And they're like, Kel is not coming with us on our trip. So Keenan is like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hide Kel in our trunk. And then when they discover him, it will be too late to turn back. So they smuggle him onto this trip. And then this haunted, they hear about this haunted knight who survived with no head after his head got decapitated or something. The history's a little murky, but they have to go to this creepy mansion. And I don't know, it's just it doesn't sound good, but trust me, James, it's good.
We have to watch. It'll be our next, we're watching more scary movies in this upcoming week. That's going to be the next one.
It's something. And I remember there's James, I'm sorry for the spoiler, but there's this one where all Kel brings with him for the trip is orange soda, which is Kel's thing. He loves orange soda, and an umbrella. And it's in a suitcase.
He uses both of them, so it's appropriate.
And Keenan is like, all you brought with you is orange soda and an umbrella. Why didn't you bring any clothes? And Kel's like, all I need is right here. And it's true, because at one point it starts raining and he's like, look who has an umbrella.
I love that.
It's a good show. It's so good. Honestly, that show is probably peak 90s show for me. Was that and the Rugrats.
Yeah,
great show.
The whole All That cast, they did good stuff.
Amanda Bynes, oh my god.
The Amanda show was great.
The Amanda show was great, yeah.
Really good.
Listeners, you have a lot of homework ahead of you
for next week.
2 heads are better than none. What was the dream movie?
Come True.
Come True.
Anything about Chernobyl. End of list.
Yeah. Catch up, listeners. Catch up.
Yes.
Mustard listeners.
Get yourself a Good Burger and catch up.
That's good.
Well, there you have it. That was the latest episode of the Now Entering Dreamland podcast, featuring Rosie Grant and James Jelin. Thank you, Rosie and James. If you liked this episode, if you're enjoying this podcast, if you want to hear more of this content, I can only suggest that it would be wise for you to subscribe. There is a handy subscribe button on Now Entering Dreamland. However, you can visit us online at nowenteringdreamland.com for an archive of our past episodes and some additional content as well. We release new episodes every Sunday. You are now leaving Dreamland, but we'll see you next time.